Hey guys, welcome to ZZ Coasters. This is my video, my ranking of all the coasters at Kings Island. Thanks for watching and let's get right into the ranking here. Before we begin, I will say that there is one coaster that won't be featured on the list. This is the Great Pumpkin Coaster, which won't be on this list just because I did not ride that. So let's get right into number 13, which is Flying Ace Aerial Chase. This was my least favorite coaster at the park. It's a Vekoma family invert, and it's very slow. It's essentially an inverted kiddie coaster, and it's really surprising how rough it is for the size. It really bangs your head around quite a bit in the bulky over-the-shoulder restraints, but ride it once for the credit, but it's not a very fun ride. Number 12 is Adventure Express, the park's aerodynamics mine train. It's good for families, but pretty rough. I was getting jerked around quite a bit. It was overall just a pretty jerky family coaster, and the ending was pretty anticlimactic too. I didn't like that, but it is good for families who want to ride together. Coming in at number 11 is the wooden family coaster Woodstock Express. This coaster is a family coaster, as you would expect. It's pretty small, but on that first drop, you actually do get quite a bit of airtime in the back row, especially with those buzz bar restraints that just make for an overall enjoyable ride, and this is my favorite coaster in the Planet Snoopy area of the park. At number 10, we have the park's premier ride launched family coaster, Backlot Stunt Coaster. This coaster has a pretty forceful launch, and that helix up into the next section of the ride pulls some good forces. The next section is pretty much just a typical family coaster until you get to the second launch, which doesn't have very many forces, but the indoor section following it is pretty fun, and overall this is just a good family coaster with some actually surprisingly good forces at the beginning. Coming in at number 9, we have our first real big coaster, the Bat. The Bat is an aero-suspended coaster that it has some good floater airtime on the drop. Other than that, the swinging is pretty fun, but otherwise pretty dull. And then, other than that helix, which actually pulls some pretty good positive forces. The over-the-shoulder restraints actually don't cause that much headbanging, and overall, this is a good ride, especially for your less thrill-seeking friends to work up to Banshee right across the action zone. Coming in at number 8, we have the Racer. This classic wooden coaster built by John C. Allen in 1972 is a fun ride, and it's pretty jerky, which is expected for a 50-year-old wooden coaster, but it looks really cool, especially with that new paint job. The racing aspect is fun, and it's just overall a good, fun, old wooden coaster. Coming in at number 7, we have Flight of Fear. Flight of Fear is an indoor Premier Rides launch coaster that I find pretty fun. The inversions are fun, and the indoor location is a fun gimmick. Although the layout is not the most creative, it's mostly just some twists and turns and inversions. The Spaghetti Bowl would look a lot cooler if you could actually see it, but since you're indoors in the pitch dark, you can't really see anything, and the head choppers that would be caused kinda just aren't there anymore. But other than that, it is definitely a fun ride, although I do recommend heading to this early because I went in the middle of the day on a Thursday, and I still waited like 45 minutes for it. Coming in at number 6, we have Invertigo, the park's inverted boomerang. Some people will be quite surprised to see how high I had this, but I really enjoyed this ride. You start by going up a lift hill, and if you're facing the right way, you really feel like you're going to fall out of those over-the-shoulder restraints because that's the only thing keeping you up. Another fun part of it is the extreme forces on that vertical loop the second trip around, the positives get really high and it's just a really intense and great experience. I really like this coaster a lot more than others. I've heard that it's rough, but I didn't actually think it was that rough. I found it pretty smooth and overall an enjoyable experience. Kicking off our top 5, we have number 5, which is Mystic Timbers. I think this is my most unpopular Kings Island opinion, especially because some people have this as their number 2 or even number 1 in the park. I didn't really notice the great pacing that people always talk about, other than the fact that it was a short ride, and I thought the airtime was minimal other than that first drop. However, it's still a great and fun wooden coaster with some nice twists and turns, which makes it my number 5, but I still thought it was a little bit overrated, although I did get stapled on my only ride I got on it. So next time I'll go back, I'll have to see if a ride with some airtime room can help this coaster go up in the rankings at all. Coming in at number 4 is what I think is the park's best wooden coaster, the legendary Beast. I rode this after the 2022 retracking, and it is smooth as glass. It is incredible. The helix, those forces are just great. The twists are extremely fun. It's a super long ride. I just loved this coaster, every single bit of it. It was just an awesome wooden coaster. It's what a wooden coaster should be. If you go, do not pass this up. Number 3, we have the park's B&M Invert Banshee. This ride is long, the inversions are great, the 0G roll is incredible, and that final inline twist gives you some epic hang time. The first drop I actually got a little airtime on, which was pretty nice, and also the pretzel knot was interesting. I didn't really notice any difference between that and a Batwing, but overall, it's a very long coaster with some fun inversions and a good layout. I definitely recommend this coaster when you go. Coming in at number 2, we have Orion, the park's B&M Giga Coaster. This coaster is pretty short, which is why it's only at number 2, but the coaster that it does have gives some great forces. The wave turn has some crazy ejector airtime, as well as the first drop. The helix is incredibly forceful, and I think this is one of the only times that I've actually got airtime on a brake run. You heard that right. I got airtime going into the brake run. This thing is just super forceful, it's great, and I love this coaster. And finally, our number 1 spot goes to Diamondback. This thing is just a monster. From the first drop to the brake run, the airtime just doesn't stop. That helix has some great positive forces as well, and the splashdown is really fun to watch, and if you go in the back row and extend your arms, you can actually feel the water splashing down behind you, which I think is really fun. The airtime is just so sustained on every single heel, you're out of your seat for what feels like more than half of the ride. It's just awesome. I love this coaster, which is why it's my number 1 in the park. Alright guys, thanks for watching my video on my favorite Kings Island coasters. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment about what your favorite park is, and leave your ranking in the comments so I can see what other people think of the coasters at Kings Island. Also, if you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you can see whenever I make a new video. Thanks guys, and see you in the next one.